This is David Hicks, Hicks Law Firm. Going to go over the SSA function report. This is a form that is part of every disability case. And it's very important that you fill this out correctly in a way that's going to maximize your chance of winning disability benefits. As always, if you have any questions about this form or any part of the disability process, call me at 1-800-232-4878. That is 1-800-232-HURT. It's always free to talk to me. Now, we're going to go over this question by question. It's going to be a very detailed video, and I encourage you to watch this if you need to multiple times, and be sure to pause it when needed so you can fill it out thoroughly and properly. So we see that the first page of the function report has general information, name of disabled person, obviously this is you. It's important to note that it's first, middle initial, and last, not last name first. So if you're John Smith, John A. Smith, or John B. Smith, that sort of thing. Social Security number right here. Your daytime telephone number, including area code first and phone number. I would encourage you, if you have any other numbers to add, maybe even just write them in the margin here. One or two additional contact numbers. Social Security loves to deny a claim based on failure to contact you, even though their contact attempts may be one or two at best. So always give them as many numbers as possible, even if it's just in the margins, that's totally fine. Question 4A, where do you live? House, apartment, boarding house, which I've never seen, but I guess it's still a possibility. Nursing home, shelter, group home, self-explanatory here. With whom do you live? Alone, with family, friends, or other? Section B, question 5. This is perhaps the most important question in the entire form. How do your illnesses, injuries, or conditions limit your ability to work? And I take the opportunity during this question to tell you that this form is not going to win your case. The only impact this form may have is it may lose your case. In almost 15 years of practicing Social Security disability law, I've never won a case solely based on the function report. However, I've lost cases based on the function report and a claimant's incompletion of the function report or answering questions in a way that hurts their disability claim. So always remember, you're playing defense with this form. You're not playing offense. So what does that mean in terms of question number 5? It means be brief. Be as brief as possible while still answering the question. So how do your illnesses, injuries, or conditions limit your ability to work? You want to say something that is accurate, yet also vague. Vague in the sense that it does not hurt your chances. So let's talk about this, for example. I can only lift 10 pounds. No, false. That may be true, but you don't want to say 10 pounds. Instead, say something like, I can only lift small amounts of weight. This is the proper way to answer that question. Another example. I can only stand for 15 minutes. Well, you don't want to say that because that is insufficiently, that is too specific. So for example, if you say I can stand 15 minutes on the function report, 6 months later at your hearing, you tell an administrative law judge you can stand for 20 minutes. Social Security is that nitpicky. They will go back and find in your function report that you said 15 minutes, and they'll use that to justify denial, saying that you were contradicting yourself. I know it sounds insane, but it's true. So instead of 15 minutes standing, you would say I can only stand for short periods of time due to my chronic pain. I would also counsel you not to say specific body parts here, because if you say knee pain but forget back pain, or vice versa, and then later on you say, well, I have pain in my back, knees, and shoulder, the judge or whoever's looking at your case may say, well, you didn't mention all of those body parts on the function report, therefore denial. These are just ways in which Social Security can be very nitpicky, very specific. So I would encourage you to maybe limit your response to 2 lines at most. It gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 lines, 7 ways to hang yourself in your claim. So limit it to 2 lines maximum. That's question 5. Question 6, describe what you do from the time you wake up until going to bed. I encountered this question during disability hearings quite a bit, and the answer that drives me and judges crazy is nothing. That's right, nothing. A client that says, I don't do a darn thing from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. Well, we all know what that means. We know what you're trying to convey, but judges and Social Security, they are quite literal in everything that you tell them. Imagine someone who has no sense of humor and will take anything literally, okay? So you can't say nothing because we know that you do something. So again, being brief, I would limit this response to 2 lines as well. Here's an example of something that will qualify as a good answer in my book. So wake up, brush teeth, make coffee, watch TV, lie down, eat breakfast, check mail, surf internet, lie down again, eat lunch, watch TV, talk to my spouse, eat dinner, take medicine, go to bed. Something I'll add here as well, I would advise you, and I advise my clients, not to typewrite this form. Do not fill this form out on the computer. Fill it out by hand. Even if your penmanship is awful, it's okay. I want Social Security, for my client's sake, to see your penmanship. I want them to see not only that, but that you care enough about your claim to fill this form out. It may take you 2 or 3 sessions. You may have to take breaks. That's okay. But Social Security wants to see that you care enough about your disability claim that you're going to do this on your own. If you have any questions, I'm always here for my clients and otherwise, even if you aren't my client. This video and my resources are available, but I really think that if you go the extra mile and fill this out by hand, Social Security will be impressed, and that it wouldn't hurt you. It only helps your chances of winning your case. So that's just an example answer for question number 6. Again, don't be specific. Don't tell them what you're watching on TV. Don't tell them how long you're lying down. Don't tell them what you're eating. Just be vague, because these answers may change later on and you don't want to tie yourself into a response. It's sort of like a deposition in the law. You don't want to corner yourself with a response to where you have no wiggle room later to change your testimony if needed. So that's question 6. Question 7, do you take care of anyone such as a wife, husband, children, grandchildren, parents, friend, or other? 9 times out of 10, your answer should be no. Here's why. Social Security does not do you any favors with this question. They do not define take care of. To you, take care of may mean get your wife a bagel in the morning, talk to somebody, get someone a drink, drive them to school, little things like that. However, Social Security is going to interpret that phrase take care of in a way that is going to disqualify you for benefits. Think being a permanent caretaker, okay? And I mean that literally. If you check yes, then Social Security is going to think that you are a full-time caretaker for all these people. You spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week taking care of them. Think what nurses do. So you don't want to check yes, because that gives the impression you can work, okay? So almost always check no to question number 7. Question number 8, however, is different. Do you take care of pets or other animals? I found that if you check yes, that in rare cases will hurt your claim. usually it's okay to take care of Fido or Spot and still be disabled, okay? Because that takes a minimal part of your day, 10 to 15 minutes per day at the most, okay? So checking yes, unless you're a professional dog groomer or you go to horse shows or something, I think question 8's perfectly fine to check yes. If you have large animals or special breeds or an alligator or something like that, you may want to call me, but otherwise, usually it's okay. Question 9, does anyone help you take care of other people or animals? Well, I would say it's okay to check yes if that's the case, if that's the truth. In my neck of the woods in southeastern Kentucky, families tend to live all in one area. So you'll have mom and dad in one house, 2 or 3 houses down, you'll have the kids, another house down, you'll have an aunt and uncle. So it's pretty commonplace. However, if you're in a larger city or another state, that may not be as common. So I think question 9, either way, just answer that one truthfully. Question 10, and this is just another example of Social Security's complete inability to make a form properly. What were you able to do before your illnesses, injuries, or conditions that you can't do now? They give you a measly 1 line to answer the question, so keep it brief. However, if there are things you used to enjoy, I've had clients in my area who really enjoy ATV, fishing, going hunting, that kind of thing. Definitely put that. This is not your chance to say what you do enjoy doing. This is a chance to tell them what you do not do anymore. If you still do it, even if it's once a year, do not put that. If you still go on that camping trip and you suffer through it, but you still go, do not put camping in response to question 10 because you still do it. Can't do now means that you have not done this since you applied, okay? Question 11, do the illnesses, injuries, or conditions affect your sleep? I find that very, very often my clients have sleep issues. Even if I used to sleep 8 hours, I can only sleep 7, that still affects your sleep. So you want to answer yes if that's the case. And how it limits your sleep? Well, usually it's I don't get as much sleep. So something like that. Moving on to question 12, personal care. Very rarely will you check this box. Usually you're going to have some issue with dressing, bathing, caring for your hair, shaving, feeding yourself, using the toilet, or other. Other is your magic opportunity to put something else that Social Security has omitted. Now remember, personal care, that's a wide variety of things. Okay, so dressing. What goes into dressing? Putting your pants on. Think about it. You're bending. You're stooping, you're putting one leg up, you're putting another leg in. Even if you have to sit on the bed to put your pants on, that is something caused by your disability. People with back pain know this. It is debilitating. It affects every aspect of your life. So pants, shirts, think about reaching over your head. Think about putting your arms through the holes in the shirt. Does it cause you any pain? Even a little bit of pain. If it does, then you will not hit no problem. Instead, you will list that. So, for example, dressing, have to sit on bed to put pants on. I've had clients who have to take a break between putting the pants on and putting the shirt on because it's just so taxing on them. It's so painful. So I've had clients who have had to have their spouse must put socks on. Obesity is an epidemic in this country, and I've had clients that, due to their weight, they cannot access their feet. That's a thing, and it's certainly appropriate to put on the form. Bathing, very frequently I see clients that have to have assistance in bathing, getting in and out of the tub. If you have a special disabled or handicapped tub, this is the place to put it. Caring for your hair, again, my female clients all the time, they say that they cannot wash their hair because of a shoulder issue or a hand issue. Us guys with the shorter hair, we don't have to worry about this as much, but for ladies who have to wash their hair and all that's attendant with that, oftentimes there are issues. Shaving, and that includes shaving your legs, underarms, that sort of thing. If you have issues there, put that. Feeding yourself. I don't see this as often, but it can be an issue if you have problems with your hands, holding a fork, manipulating that kind of thing. Using the toilet. Let's get really, really personal here. So wiping, oftentimes that's an issue because you're reaching. So if you have issues with that, this is not the time to be ashamed of it. You're going to give this form to a bureaucrat or your lawyer. These are people that are going to be familiar already with your issues. This is not the time to worry about modesty. You need to be real with this. So if there is an issue, this is the time to put it. You would nothing shocks me in my years of practicing disability law. We don't, judge you for it. It's not your fault you're disabled. So again, if it affects you in your self-care, this is the chance to put that. It's going to help your case if you do. Moving on to B, do you have any special reminders, need any special reminders to take care of personal needs and grooming? If you've set a reminder on your smartphone, this is a chance to put that. Do you need help or reminders taking medicine? And I would also include the pill boxes that have, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That qualifies as help. So you would want to answer yes to that. Question 13, meals. Do you prepare your own meals? I find that a lot of my clients do prepare their own meals, even if it's once a day or once a week. However, it's simple meals. So it's okay to check yes. However, you do want to say something like simple meals. So I've never had a client say that they do complete meals with several courses, but if you do, then, well, that's probably going to hurt you. And you might need to rethink that because, frankly, if you're disabled, I really doubt that you can do a complete meal with several courses. I don't think that I've ever made a several course meal in my life, but that's just something to consider. So I would usually say simple meals in microwave, if that is the case. That's a very common answer I get from clients in hearings. How often do you prepare food or meals? And again, if you have somebody who helps you do this, you may not want to say daily. You may want to say every couple of days, that kind of thing. Any changes in cooking habits since the illness, injuries, or conditions began? The most common instance I see is that folks around my neck of the woods really love home-cooked meals, soup, beans, cornbread, things in the oven, things that take several hours to complete, and now they just do simple meals as in TV dinners or frozen meals, or they do a lot of leftovers. That's a common thing that I see. Or maybe in other places you do a lot more takeout, you do a lot more DoorDash, that kind of thing. House and yard work. List household chores, both indoors and outdoors, that you're able to do. Okay, so these are things you're able to do, but you may need to take breaks. So and you'll get that in section C here. So cleaning, laundry, household repairs, ironing, mowing. You just want to be vague, as always. So if it's cleaning, you just say cleaning. You don't say cleaning what? You don't say how long it takes. You don't say what you use. You just say cleaning. Laundry, one thing that I always see clients have trouble with is folding and also lifting the laundry. So especially with female clients, they will put the laundry in the washer, but they need help taking it out of the washer because that involves bending, putting it into the dryer, and then folding. If you have issues with your hands, such as carpal tunnel syndrome, you're going to have problems folding. How much time does it take you and how often? So this is where you need to, if you need breaks, you need to put that in here. So you might want to say 2 hours total due to breaks. And again, we're not going to say the frequency of the breaks at this point. We're not going to say how long each break takes because that corners us into that response. So we're going to leave that blank for now. We're just going to say due to breaks. Do you need help or encouragement doing these things? If you need help from a spouse or a family member or a roommate, you do want to say yes here. If you don't do house or yard work, explain why not. And in this case, if you don't do it, due to my disabilities. I counsel clients to use disabilities as much as possible just because of the psychological effect. You don't want to say conditions as much as disabilities because you're hammering home to Social Security that I'm disabled. These are my disabilities. Question 15, getting around. How often do you go outside? Remember, they're literalists. So if you go outside to check the mail every day, even though you might not consider that going outside, you've left the door. Therefore, anything that involves leaving your door and stepping into the outside is going outside. So usually we'll see daily. However, if you really are kind of a recluse, or your disabilities have caused you to stay inside, then you can be more seldom than that. But just be as specific as possible with the going outside. I know that I counseled you just now not to be specific, but you do want to be specific here. You just want to say if it's daily, put daily, or you could even, I'll say, put often or not too often. That's okay too. If you don't go out at all, explain why not. You're going to seldom be in a case where you don't go out at all unless you're completely bedridden. So just remember that before you put not at all, because not at all is a rare case. Most of us go outside at least once a week or once a month. When going out, how do you travel? Walking, driving a car, riding in a car, riding a bicycle. If you're riding a bicycle, also, unless your disabilities are solely psychological in nature, that's probably going to hurt your claim that you're riding a bike, public transportation or other. When going out, can you go out alone? Do you drive? And again, it's okay to drive as part of your disability claim. A lot of my clients limit their driving to, say, 20 miles, 30 miles, or they limit it to minutes, 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away. That's okay. Shopping. If you do any shopping, do you shop in stores, by phone, by mail, or by computer? Remember, if you shop in stores, you're going to have to answer questions like, well, do you have any problems with crowds of people at the stores? Do you have any problems accessing the shelves, whether it's down low or up high? Do you have any problems counting change at the register or paying for your groceries? How often do you shop? How long does it take? Question 17, money. Are you able to pay bills? Yes or no. Handle a savings account? Yes or no. Count change? Yes or no. Use a checkbook or money order? Yes or no. This question is going to be important if you're approved, and here's why. Social Security is concerned with your ability to manage your benefits if you're awarded. If they determine that you cannot, for whatever reason, manage your benefits in your best interest, they will appoint what's called a representative payee in your case. That is a person, usually a close family member or friend, that is going to receive your benefits on your behalf. And they're going to have the power to spend them for you as you deem fit. You, in most cases, don't want a representative payee unless you really need them. So I caution you to err on the side of yes on these questions if that's true. You may have issues counting the change in how long it takes you, but if you can eventually count out change, that's okay. I would say yes. Handling a savings account. Remember, this is just keeping track of what's in it. Even if it's checking it online or writing in a ledger, that's okay. Paying bills, most of us can do that even if it's with assistance. So I would strongly encourage you, if you can truthfully answer yes, do that, because it may jeopardize your ability not to have a representative payee. Question B, subsection B, has your ability to handle money changed since the illnesses, injuries, or conditions began? A lot of times you need help, and that's okay. Again, you can do it, but with help. Hobbies and interests. What are your hobbies and interests? Now remember, this is the present tense. What are your hobbies and interests currently? So these are going to be not things you had to give up, but things you enjoy doing. Now, where this gets people in trouble is things like, a lot of women like to crochet and knit, okay? So what does that involve? That involves using your hands in fine fingering and manipulation. Now, if you have problems with your hands, but you still crochet and knit, Social Security will pounce on that and say that your problems with your hands are not severe enough to keep you from working. For men, a lot of men like to work on cars. A lot of men like to go hunting, fishing, ATV. And I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm just speaking from my experience in these cases and how they can affect your claim. So things like reading, for example, a lot of people like to read. However, you can do it in 15-minute intervals. So that's question B, how often and how well do you do these things? So even if you do it every day, you might want to say in section C, have to do it in small bursts with breaks in between. Remember, we're not being specific enough to hang ourselves, but we're being sufficiently vague to Social Security that while you can still engage in the hobby, you still need breaks. Social activities, how do you spend time with others? In person, on the phone, email, texting, mail, video chat, or other. Now, this question is going to be important in that if you allege disability due to a cognitive impairment, things like you were a slow learner in school, or you have trouble with comprehension, or things like that, but you're still able to log on to a video chat session, that may prove problematic. However, in person, on the phone, email, that kind of thing. Another thing to remember is that if you suffer from depression or anxiety and you allege problems with interacting with other people, but you're still saying that you spend time all the time with friends and family, then Social Security is going to be doubtful about how that condition affects you. They're going to say, well, you can pretty frequently interact with other people because you do it. So just keep that in mind. How often do you do these things? List the places you go on a regular basis. And again, this plays into a lot of the depression, anxiety, the mental health impairments that a lot of my clients struggle with that keeps them from these groups. If you still go to church on a regular basis, be prepared to explain that you have a very small church and maybe you don't interact with the people. And maybe, in fact, you have to leave early sometimes. These are the caveats that are going to save you in that situation, because you definitely want to be truthful, but you want to give Social Security a complete picture of, even though you go to church or you go to the community center or sporting events, life is not like it used to be. You can't sit through it. You have to stand up, you have to take a break, that kind of thing, because you better believe that they're going to be looking at this and say, well, an hour-long church service, John Smith can sit through that, then he can sit and do a surveillance system monitor job. More on that in another video. Do you need to be reminded to go places? And again, this plays into a lot of the smartphone reminders that folks have. Do you need someone to accompany you? And again, that's completely appropriate if that's the case. Do you have any problems getting along with family, friends, neighbors, or others? More often than not, you're going to check yes, because problems getting along, I interpret that very broadly. So if you have the occasional argument that could have been caused by your pain, maybe you're having a bad day and you snapped at somebody. If that happened one time, then I would check yes and explain. Describe any changes in social activities since the illnesses, injuries, or conditions began. A lot of times I see responses like, I just don't go out as much as I used to. I can't stand to sit at my grandkids' ball games or activities. And this is where it's really powerful when you have a kid or a grandkid that plays a sport and you can't enjoy that like you used to. That is where you really would let this question shine. But again, they gave you one line, so you have to be brief, unfortunately. But keep in mind that if you're denied, you will get a chance to explain that at the hearing with the administrative law judge. Okay, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. 20A, check any of the following items that your injuries, illnesses, or conditions affect. You'll want to be very liberal in how you answer this question. If you have back issues, almost always it affects your ability to lift. Squatting, bending, standing, reaching. Now that's important for your shoulders, hands, and arms. If you have problems with your neck, oftentimes what's called radiculopathy will affect your ability to use your arms. Walking. If you checked standing, then you'll want to check walking. They go hand in hand. Sitting, you may think you can sit for a long time. Well, what Social Security has in mind is an office chair. We're not talking about a recliner. We're talking about a straight back office chair or a kitchen chair, like the ones you see behind me. Kneeling, and again, if you've checked bending, then you're going to want to check kneeling. talking. Now that one is going to be more for if you have an impairment with your voice or neck or vocal cords. Usually you can talk. Hearing, stair climbing, that one's very common. Seeing, you want to be a little bit selective about that. If you do have a vision impairment, then you can select that one. Memory, and that's even short term or long term. If you've noticed any memory deficits, you want to check that box. Completing tasks, concentration, understanding, following instructions, getting along with others. We've touched on that. Using your hands, they threw that in at the end, but you do want to make sure you check that if you have any problems using your hands. Are you right or left-handed? How far can you walk before needing to stop and rest? You can use distance or time, but I would encourage you to be vague and say not very far. And you will see that my advice will change 100% when it comes to the disability hearing. At the hearing, you want to be specific. You want to use 10 minutes, 10 feet, 15 feet, 50 feet. But in the form, you're playing defense. So you want to say not very far or not very long. And then if you have to rest, how long before you can resume walking? I would say for a few minutes. A few minutes can be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but again, we want to be vague. We don't want to give specific numbers at this point in your claim. For how long can you pay attention? Maybe a short periods, that kind of thing. Do you finish what you start? Well, that is a very open-ended question. If there's anything that you've not finished in the past 6 months, anything at all, check no. You have pretty wide latitude to check no because that is a very open-ended question. How well do you follow written instructions? So think of the most complicated written instructions you can think of. A recipe maybe for some biscuits is pretty simple, but what about a recipe for a souffle? Well, you wouldn't follow that very well, I would imagine, unless you just have really good cognitive abilities, which a lot of folks that are disabled don't. So I would just say not very well if that's the case. Same for spoken instructions. It's important to remember that spoken instructions involve more memory, because if I tell you to go to the grocery store and get me eggs, cheese, butter, and milk, are you going to be able to remember that in 20 minutes when you're at the grocery store? So maybe not very well, that's okay. Short answers, vague answers are your friend here. How well do you get along with authority figures? What they're looking for here is the ability to deal with supervisors at work, because Social Security is going to want to try to find you work, not literally, but find you examples of jobs that you can do, and some of these may involve dealing with supervisors. Have you ever been fired or laid off from a job because of problems getting along with other people? A lot of folks are proud, as we are wont to be, and want to say that you lost a job because of an innocuous reason, like, well, you just left the job on your own. But in reality, you got fired. And this is not the time to be proud. This is the time to be realistic. And if you were laid off from a job because of these issues, to explain that here. This will help you if that's the case. Another issue that I run into occasionally is folks that have intermittent explosive disorder or anger problems, maybe lashed out at some coworkers and they got in trouble at work and they were let go. That's okay to mention. In fact, that bolsters your claim. It shows that your conditions affect your ability to get along with other people. And you're going to want to give the name of the employer. They may reach out to that employer to substantiate that. So just be truthful. How do you handle stress? How do you handle changes in routine? A lot of times not too well. Have you noticed any unusual behavior or fears? This is very important. Question 21. Do you use any of the following? Okay. If you use a cane, I tell my clients, if you use a cane, I want to see a prescription. Even if you have to go to the doctor and ask the doctor to provide a prescription for the cane, if they agree with that, then they'll do it. You only want to check that if you have a prescription, a medical necessity, because otherwise 9 times out of 10, Social Security is going to find that that is not medically necessary. There has to be a prescription from a doctor in your file. Crutches, usually you only use crutches in the short term, 3 to 6 months. If that's not the case, then you want to have medical documentation from your doctor that crutches are necessary on an ongoing basis. Remember, disability is the inability to perform work that is going to last at least 1 year. So if you're off work for 6 weeks with crutches, that's not going to get your Social Security disability. Walker, same thing. Wheelchair, same thing. A lot of my clients in the past have used a parent's or grandparent's wheelchair. However, only to find that Social Security says they don't need it because they picked that up on their own. It might help them, but you have to have medical documentation of such. Same things. I've never seen a claimant with an artificial voice box, but I'm sure they exist. Which of these were prescribed by a doctor? Again, you want to be sure you have that prescription. If you don't have a prescription, then I would still say it, but maybe say prescription pending. So you're waiting for a prescription. But you do want to be truthful. If you use it, but you want to be sure to get that prescription ASAP. Hopefully by the time you've received the function report in the mail, you've already got that prescription. If you're a client of mine, then I always advise them on the front end, my clients, to go ahead and get that prescription. And again, when was it prescribed? This date, say it's August 1st of 2023 or 2024, whatever, that's going to determine a lot of times when Social Security finds you disabled. They'll say, yes, you're disabled as of the date that you were prescribed the cane. That directly affects how much back pay or past due benefits you receive. That's why it's important to get those prescriptions early as possible. 22, medications list and side effects you have. They only give you room for 5. If you need to, attach a separate sheet of paper with additional medications on that. Again, this is where you can leave remarks, and they give you no fewer than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 lines to hang yourself with. You better believe that anything you put in the remarks, they're going to compare with your earlier answers. So I would leave this blank. Finally, printing your name, date, and again, if you're at all able, I would fill this out on my own. I would not even have a spouse do it. Fill it out on your own because it shows Social Security that you are serious about this claim. If you can't do it, that's fine, but if you're at all able, I would do that. Social Security will give you a prepaid envelope to send the function report back to them in. Usually they'll give you a few days to fill that out and get them back to them, but I would do that as soon as possible. Failure to complete and send in the function report will result in a technical denial of your claim, and they will list those 3 bad letters you don't want on your case. FTC, failure to cooperate. So always, always, always send back the function report. If you need more time, contact your disability examiner whose information should be in your paperwork and let them know. However, if you're represented by an attorney like me, you can just send the form back to us and we can submit it on your behalf. I hope this video has been helpful. Again, if you need to speak to a disability attorney, Hicks Law Firm is here ready to help you. That's 1-800-232-4878. This is an advertisement.